long before the darkness of Mordor rose again, before the shadow of Sauron crept back into the east, a different kind of evil stirred, silent, patient, unnamed. Beneath the towering spires of the misty mountains, carved into the bones of the earth itself, lies Khazad-dûm, the ancient kingdom of the Dwarves. Once it was a realm of song and splendor, its halls alive with the rhythm of hammers and the glow of mithril-veined walls. Here, under the rule of Durin's line, the Dwarves mined deeper than any race had dared before. What they unearthed was not only treasure, but terror. For in that place, in the cold blackness beneath even the deepest delvings, something older than memory sleeps, something not of this world, nor shaped by any known hand. We remember the Balrog, Durin's bane, the demon of shadow and flame that drove the Dwarves from their home and shattered their legacy. Its name alone carries weight and fire. Yet even that ancient horror is not the greatest secret of Moria. There are things below it, older, darker, unnamed. Gandalf, a Maya and steward of the secret flame, glimpsed them during his descent into the abyss beneath the mountain. His words, spoken in hushed reverence, offer the only direct knowledge we possess. Far, far below the deepest delvings of the Dwarves, the world is gnawed by nameless things. Even Sauron knows them not. They are older than he. These words are not just a warning. They are a glimpse into the unimaginable. The nameless things are not monsters in the usual sense. They are not bound by the stories we know. They gnaw at the roots of the world, an image so visceral and ancient that even Tolkien leaves it cloaked in shadow. And Gandalf, who had walked among the Valar, who had battled demons and defied death, refused to speak of them further. Now I have walked there, but I will bring no report to darken the light of day. In that silence lies our terror. For in a world filled with dragons, wraiths, and fallen gods, what must these things be that even the wise would turn away? This is their story, or at least the part we are allowed to know. Khazad-dûm was not always a tomb of echoing silence. There was a time when it was the heart of Dwarven pride, the gleaming center of craftsmanship and power. Under Durin's reign, the forges roared day and night, and the glitter of mithril flowed like rivers through the stone-veined halls. The elves once walked its passages as friends, and its name was spoken with reverence in every corner of Middle-earth. But wealth has a hunger, and the Dwarves, masters of stone and steel, were not immune. Their miners delved ever deeper, not out of need, but ambition. They sought more than gold, more than jewels. They sought the endless vein, the secret silver fire that only they could tame. And so they cut through rock and time, blind to the warnings carved into the very bones of the mountain. Too greedily and too deep. That is how Gimli would later reflect upon the fall of his ancestors, a quiet condemnation wrapped in sorrow. It was in this blind pursuit that they awakened something ancient, the Balrog, a creature of fire and shadow, a remnant of the First Age, born in the service of Morgoth, the original Dark Lord. The Dwarves called it Durin's bane, for it rose from the depths and slew their king, shattering the spirit of the kingdom in a single stroke. The halls of Khazad-dûm were emptied, the forges fell cold, the singing stopped, and Moria became a place of whispers and ruin. Yet the Balrog was not the first to dwell in those dark places, nor the oldest. Its emergence was a cataclysm, yes, but perhaps only the surface quake. Beneath that eruption lay a deeper rumble, older and slower, and far less willing to reveal itself. The Dwarves, in their greed, may not have just disturbed the slumber of one ancient evil, but scraped against something that should never have been touched. They may have dug into regions never meant for mortal feet. Long before the Balrog stirred, the Nameless Things were already there, coiled in the lightless chasms, gnawing silently at the foundations of the world. The fire demon came and went, but they remained. As the Fellowship would later discover, the true terror of Moria was not only what rose in flame, it was what waited beneath, unseen, unspoken, and unthinkable. The Fellowship entered Moria expecting ruin. What they found was haunting silence. The once great halls of Khazad-dûm had become cathedrals of emptiness. No hammer rang, no forge glowed. Dust lay thick upon stone once polished by proud feet. The deeper they went, the heavier the air became, not from the lack of light, but from something else, something that watched but never moved, that listened but never breathed. Frodo, the smallest among them, was the first to feel it. He did not understand it, but he felt it. I feel as if something is watching me, something cold. It was not the eyes of the orcs, not the scent of fire. It was a presence that had no shape, yet filled every crack in the stone. A weight older than language, pressing against the soul like the hush before a scream. Gimli walked with reverence, speaking in sorrowful tones of his kin. Yet even he, proud dwarf of the lonely mountain, could not hide his discomfort. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world. He spoke as one who had heard whispers in the dark, the old tales told beside hearths of things not carved in books but carried in blood. Legolas, light-footed and sharp-eyed, felt the pressure more keenly than the others. His elven senses reached beyond mere sight, and as the shadows lengthened, his unease grew. This place is cursed. I feel a weight on my heart. The very air tastes of despair. And Aragorn, wise, learned, and silent, said little. But when he spoke, his words trembled with meaning. The world is gnawed by nameless things. They have lived here beyond the memory of the dwarves. These were not mere poetic metaphors. These were warnings, spoken softly in a place where names hold power. The Balrog was real, but it was a known terror, an enemy with form, with fire, with legend. The Nameless Things, by contrast, were not stories passed down. They were the void between stories. They do not speak. They do not show themselves. But in the heart of Moria, they are felt. As the Fellowship passed over broken bridges and beneath collapsed ceilings, they were walking not through ruin, but through a grave, built on a deeper grave. The dwarves had been mighty, proud, skilled beyond reckoning, but even they had sensed that something had been waiting beneath the mithril, something that was never meant to be touched, let alone awakened. The Balrog claimed Durin, but what if something deeper, darker, and patient merely watched that battle from below, not as a rival, not even as a predator, but as a thing older than fear itself? When Gandalf fell, when the bridge broke and shadow took him, when the Fellowship stood silent in grief, he did not die. He descended, down through the roots of the world, past stone and fire, past memory and myth, into realms untouched by light, unmeasured by time. There, beneath even the deepest delvings of the dwarves, he wandered where no living thing had walked, not elf, not man, not Maya. He followed the Balrog through ancient vaults and echoing chasms, where the very walls pulsed with a malice unformed. And there he saw them. Far, far below the deepest delvings of the dwarves, the world is gnawed by nameless things. Even Sauron knows them not. These were not beasts of fang and claw, not spirits, nor servants of Morgoth. They were something else, primordial and unnatural. They did not dwell in the world. They gnawed at it. Their hunger is not for flesh or power. It is for the foundations of creation itself. Perhaps they are remnants of the chaos that existed before the music of the Ainur. Perhaps they are not of Arda at all, but cracks in its reality, beings from a place that should not be. What is certain is this: Gandalf, the Grey Pilgrim, servant of the secret fire, refused to speak of them. Now I have walked there, but I will bring no report to darken the light of day. His silence is louder than any tale. Gandalf has faced Sauron. He has stood before the Balrog and cast him down. But he does not name what he saw beneath the world. That is how we know. They are not to be named, not because their names are unknown, but because their existence itself defies the order of the world, and so they remain, nameless, hidden beneath the mountains, beneath time, beneath thought, waiting perhaps for another delver to dig too deep, or perhaps not waiting at all, simply gnawing endlessly as they always have. In the end, the nameless things are not just creatures. They are a concept, a warning, a shadow on the edge of comprehension. Tolkien's world is vast, filled with maps, dates, bloodlines, languages. But the nameless things cannot be mapped. They cannot be fought or reasoned with. They remind us that even in a world of gods and monsters, there are boundaries we are not meant to cross. And what lies beyond those boundaries, we are not meant to know. Just as Gandalf chose not to speak, so too should we accept that some knowledge is not wisdom. There is light in the world, and high beauty, but deep, deep beneath it all, something gnaws. Even Sauron knows them not. And perhaps that is mercy.